So today I finally get to lay all of my cards out on the table as far as lanolin undercoatings are concerned. Guys, if you watch this video in its entirety and you still don't think lanolin undercoatings work on the bottom of a vehicle to prevent rust in the rust belt, honestly, there's nothing else that I can do to prove to you that these coatings do in fact work. So with all that in mind, what I'm gonna do here is I have two separate trucks we're gonna take a look at. The first truck, if you're subscribed to the channel, this truck should be very, very familiar. This is my dad's 2017 Colorado. This truck I sprayed in October of 2017 when it had less than 500 miles on it. This is the truck that I do an annual update on every year as far as the condition of it. So we're gonna take a look at that one real quick. And then following my dad's truck, we're gonna take a look at a 2018 truck, so one model year newer, that has lived in the exact same environment, but it's never been coated ever. So both of these vehicles that we're gonna take a look at in this video live within the same 15-mile radius of one another. My dad's truck has actually been through one more winter than what the 2018 uncoated truck has. So just to give you guys an idea of the condition of my dad's truck, let me get it up in the air, walk you around the bottom of it a little bit, kind of talk you through the condition of it, and then we'll put the 2018 truck up on the lift and do the exact same thing. I'm here to tell you guys, the difference between these two is staggering. All right, so the first truck I have up here on the lift is gonna be the 2017 Colorado that has been coated since it was brand new. Taking a look here, guys, you can see everything's filthy, dirty, nasty. But one thing you can say is there isn't much rust to speak of on the bottom of this thing at all. You know, rocker panels, stuff like that, really nothing there. Up in the bed sides, you know, filler neck, stuff like that. Yeah, it's still basically as it left the factory. Coming up toward the front, you know, the front suspension, calipers and stuff, I spray the back sides of the calipers, and you can see even like the brake hoses, there's no rust on any of the brake fittings. Lower control arms, outer portion of the frame over here. Guys, there really isn't anything rust-wise to speak of here. Yeah, I understand it's filthy, dirty, nasty, but I'm here to tell you, any fastener that I would go to and try to loosen on this truck, it would come right out. So you can't say the same thing about a 7 or 8 year old truck in this environment. And guys, just to prove my point, look at the exhaust. The exhaust gets so hot that I can't coat it with anything, and look at the shape that it's in. So you can see that this truck has been in a corrosive environment for an extended length of time. Like I said, this truck has been through 7 winters, and it's going into its 8th at this point. Overall, guys, this is what it looks like. So let me get the other truck up on the lift and just give you guys kind of like a side-by-side, back-to-back, as far as a coated truck versus an uncoated one. Real quick, guys, before we look at the 2018 truck, do me a favor, go hit the like button or leave me a comment or go hit subscribe, because your interaction with this video is ultimately what drives the views in YouTube's algorithm. So if you hit the like button, you leave a comment, or you hit subscribe, YouTube is more likely to promote this video, and it's gonna help get the word out about these type of coatings, because you guys are gonna see the difference here is ridiculous. So guys, I have the 2018 truck up here on the lift, and let's just take a look at what this thing looks like, because for me, this is a whole lot of vindication. So guys, taking a look here, this truck has never been coated. This is a 2018 Colorado. It has a build date of December of 2017. This truck is still owned by the original owner. This truck has lived in North Royalton, Ohio, its entire life. So this truck has lived in this exact same environment as the 2 trucks that I have been documenting for the past 7 years, going into 8 now. And as you guys can see, there's definitely some rot under here. It's not spotless. Everything here, you know, there's no major rot holes in anything, but you can tell the rust on the vehicle is 100% progressing here. So let me grab a light off the bench and just show you, like, look at the front end here, guys. There's absolutely zero rust on the 2 trucks that I spray, and look at this one. So this is very, very typical of my environment, and honestly, for this being a 2018, this is about average, maybe a little bit better than average in my environment. Just based on my prior experience with some other vehicles that I've owned, this is, believe it or not, really isn't all that bad. Yes, you know, you can see back here by the spare tire where there's a ton of spray. You can see that, yeah, there's a lot of surface rust going on here. But overall, guys, you know, there's no rot holes in anything. But you can tell 100% that this lanolin coating that I've been putting on these 2 trucks has made a noticeable improvement in the overall condition of the vehicle. So I'm just gonna keep moving you guys around and just showing you different spots on this frame, just so you guys can sort of take in the difference between what I have and what this truck currently is. Looking up at the rockers, there's a little bit up in the rockers up there, guys. Not a whole heck of a lot, but it has started to get into the rockers a little bit. The frame is probably, you know, the worst part of it, and all of it largely is just superficial at this point. It's not anything major to really be concerned with, but left untreated, this is only going to progress and get worse. So yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. You can see that rocker right there. There's a little bit starting, but even up in the bedsides on this thing, it's really not all that bad. Taking a look up there, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't much inside the bed. So most of the rot really seems to be on the frame of this truck rather than on the body. So as you guys just saw, there is a drastic difference between a coated truck and an uncoated truck. I'm sure at this point there's going to be a bunch of people out there going, well, you know, the truck that's coated, it's probably rusting underneath that goo that's on the frame. Let me show you guys, that's not the case. So if I grab the camera here and take you over, if you pay attention to the other truck that was never coated, the truck that was never coated was always rusting around the welds on the frame. And I don't know why that is. I'm sure it has to do something with the coating on the frame interacting with the weld somehow. But if I take a rag and I wipe this back, yeah, there's a lot of goo here. But guys, the frame underneath is completely clean. There isn't a speck of rust on that weld, and you guys saw the condition of the other truck. It's blatantly apparent here that, you know what, there's no rust underneath this coating. And the coating that I have on this truck is very, very wet. This is why I only recommend a wet style coating. I'm not a huge fan of any coating that dries, because if the coating stays wet, it's impossible for the coating to crack, chip, flake, or peel. And if it doesn't chip, crack, flake, or peel, moisture can't get behind it and continue to rust underneath the coating like you would normally see with something like Z-Bart. A bunch of these companies that are selling lanolin and oil-based undercoatings, they're starting to dabble in some of these hard coatings, which is fine. My problem is I haven't used any of those hard coatings because I've had such success with these wet style coatings that I frankly have no reason to play with anything else. You guys see the condition of this thing. I'll take you guys around a little bit more and wipe off some other areas just to show you. But guys, there's no rust on the bottom of this truck at all. So like right here was a bad spot on the other truck, this bracket for the spare tire. And if you look, guys, look at the hardware underneath. If I wipe that off, there isn't even surface rust on that hardware. It's brand friggin' new. I mean, I'm sure you could do the exact same thing to some of the other fasteners on this frame. You know, you could come up here to a leaf spring bolt, wipe it off, and guess what? You'll probably get that thing apart without any major issues. So yeah, this is why I only really recommend a wet type coating, because they are extremely forgiving. You can spray this stuff right over top of existing rust, and you can pretty much neutralize any existing rust that's on the vehicle. Now, obviously you can't reverse any damage that has been done, but you can pretty much stop any existing rust as long as it's fully encapsulated with the coating itself. Chemically, it's impossible for rust to spread if you have an oil over top of it that is keeping moisture and oxygen away from the surface. It's chemically impossible. So guys, I spent probably about 5 minutes cleaning off that bracket for the spare tire, and look at the condition of it. It's brand new. So yeah, the rest of the undercarriage is filthy, dirty, nasty, but I'm here to tell you, if you wipe the coating off of it, it's gonna be brand new underneath, just like I showed you with some of the welds. This bracket in particular was probably the worst rusted piece on the entire truck, on the uncoated truck. So you can see there is a drastic difference between a coated truck and an uncoated truck. The other thing worth noting here is this bracket is painted and it hasn't affected the paint at all. These coatings, in my experience, have no effect on paint whatsoever. So if you get some overspray on the outside of the car, you can wipe it up with a rag without any detrimental effects to the paint, wax, or anything like that. So guys, if you want proof, this is about as much proof as I can give you right here. All right, now I'm sure some of you at this point are going, well, what's the mileage difference between those two trucks? Because maybe the coated one doesn't have any miles on it. There is a difference in the mileage. So my dad's truck that was coated, it has, I think, just over 50,000 miles. I think it's like 51 and change. Let me look here. Yeah, 51,360. So the 2018 truck that was uncoated, that had just under 75,000 miles on it. And I'm sure some of you at this point are going, well, of course that's why the other one looks so much worse. It has more miles on it. I'm here to tell you guys, mileage isn't that big of a factor in my experience. And what I'm gonna do for you guys is I'm gonna put a different vehicle on the lift and show you. So before I put this one up in the air, let me show you the mileage on it. It's a 2016 Ford Escape owned by my wife. Hopefully you guys can see that. But that has 122,000 miles on it. So let's put this one up in the air and see what it looks like. All right, so the Escape's up in the air. Let me take you around real quick and just kind of give you a quick overview of what it looks like. If you notice, it looks pretty darn similar to the Colorado, doesn't it? Yeah, it's dusty, dirty, nasty, but yeah, there's a little bit there on the back of the dust shield. But guys, look at the suspension. Even like the rear crash support, it's virtually spotless. So let me see if I can wipe some of this back up here. This is usually the first place to go, guys, is going to be like this rear crash support on a unibody vehicle. If it's steel, this is usually the first place that you're going to show some rust. It's just like that, the bracket for the spare tire on the Colorado. There's so much water spray and stuff back here that, you know what, this area just gets pelted with debris. So looking around, yeah, guess what? This one's in the exact same shape, and it has literally double the miles of the Colorado. So when you guys try to sit there and say, oh, the mileage, oh, the mileage, oh, the mileage, well, this vehicle is 2 years older than the uncoated vehicle, has another 40,000 miles on it, and it looks better. So if the mileage is the difference, then why doesn't this one look worse?
So this vehicle I have on the screen now is the first vehicle that I ever bought brand new. This is a 2010 F-150, and this vehicle you're seeing right now is single-handedly responsible for all of this undercoating content that you're seeing on YouTube. Guys, this truck did not make it to 8 years or 80,000 miles before both rockers were gone, the bed was shot, and you can see the condition of the front and rear bumpers. When you guys are taking a look at these photos that I have here on the screen, The truck in these pictures is the exact same age as my father's truck that's been coated for 7 years now. The truck that's on the screen has been through 7 winters. My dad's truck that we've already taken a look at here has also been through 7 winters. So you're literally looking at 2 different trucks in the exact same environment again. This is just another point that I'm trying to make here. And the whole reason that I started spraying fluid film, guys, is, like I said, because of this truck. And I knew when my dad bought that brand new 2017 Colorado that I knew if I did nothing, it was going to look exactly like this truck does in 7 to 8 years. So I figured I may as well try something. And I just started spraying fluid film, and 7 years later, here I am. So what I ended up doing here is, like I said, the front bumper's gone, rear bumper's gone, both rockers are shot, and the bed's shot. So if I'm going to go sit down and fix all this stuff, I'm setting aside probably $5,000 to fix all this rust damage. Well, this truck at this point in 2018 is only worth 10 grand. So why am I spending $5,000 to fix a truck that's only worth 10 grand? Because if I spend $3,000 to $5,000 fixing the rust problems with this truck, when I go to trade it in, it's going to be worth the same amount had I fixed the rust or not. So it's literally like I'm taking $3,000 to $5,000 and just throwing it out the window. So because of that, I traded it in on the Colorado that I currently own. So I did the used car salesman trick. I put a brand new front bumper on it, brand new rear bumper on it, and I put a set of fender flares to cover up the bubbling paint on the bed. Traded it in for 10 grand, and I've had my Colorado ever since.
So now what we're going to get into is going to be a little bit of addressing some of the pushback and some of the questioning that I got when I first started doing this like 7 years ago. I had a bunch of people going, well, isn't that going to destroy all the bushings and the boots and the brake hoses and things like that? So let's take a look at some of those parts on these 2 different trucks, one coated versus one that hasn't been. What are the difference in all of these parts?
So what we're taking a look at here is the driver's side rear leaf spring and leaf spring bracket. So if you look at the leaf spring bushing on the right-hand side, it may be slightly swollen versus the one on the left. But this is after 7 years, guys, and I'm here to tell you after 7 years, there's going to be some bushing wear regardless of whether that vehicle is coated or not. And look at the condition of everything else outside of the bushing. And yeah, it's in way better shape on the right than what it is on the left. So yeah, you may be causing some minor problems with the bushings, but guys, I priced out every single bushing in the suspension on this truck, and you can replace every bushing. Now, granted, this is if you're doing the work yourself, but you can replace every bushing in the suspension of this truck for about $300. So how much rust are you planning on fixing for $300? It's not much, I can tell you that. Just the leaf spring bushings, guys, you can buy a leaf spring bushing for one of these trucks for, I think it was less than $25. I found them, and those were AC Delco. That was right from GM. So the price of these bushings is extremely cheap versus replacing hard parts like broken springs, holes in frames, broken leaf spring brackets, stuff like that. Financially, yeah, you may be doing some minor damage to the bushings over an extended length of time, but the rest of the truck is going to be in far worse shape had you done nothing versus spraying it. So one other area that I get some questions on every now and then are brake hoses, and justifiably so. Nobody wants to have a brake hose failure because the hose is deteriorated because of this product that I've sprayed on the vehicle. What I can tell you guys is this. So what I was able to do is I was able to measure the outside dimension of both brake hoses on both trucks with a set of dial calipers. And what I was able to find was both trucks, once I cleaned the coating off of the coated truck, the outer dimension of the brake hose was exactly the same on both trucks. So if you guys are dealing with a Chevy Colorado, or I'm willing to say some sort of GM product, chances are you're not going to have any issues with brake hoses. Now, I can't speak for every single year, make, and model of vehicle that has ever existed. But what I can tell you is this. Guys, look at the uncoated truck and look at the crimped ends at both ends of the uncoated vehicle. So right where the rubber meets the metal crimp, Well, the metal crimp is starting to rot. So on the uncoated truck, you may have to replace the brake hoses after 10 or 15 years anyway because the crimped end is rotted off. So what I'm saying here, guys, is simply this. The brake hose assembly that I have on the screen right now, I can buy this set of brake hoses straight from GM for less than $10. So you guys are really worried about rotting out a $50,000 to $100,000 vehicle in order to save a $10 brake hose. If you're that worried about it, guys, you can just replace the brake hoses every 10 years like you would have to do anyway if the vehicle wasn't coated.
So guys, the only like quote unquote problem that I've seen with any sort of rubber parts on these vehicles spraying these coatings is going to be weather stripping. So if you come inside the door here, you can see this bottom edge, this piece of weather strip. You see how it's kind of wavy? Well, the reason that is because I spray the bottom edge of this door down here. So anytime this door is closed, the coating itself is literally resting against this very soft, like open cell type rubber. And you can see it has swelled it up a little bit. Now, it's not sagging off the vehicle. To me, it's not that big of a deal. But, you know, people ask how it affects certain rubbers. And this is honestly, this is the most tangible, quote unquote, like damage, if you will, that I've seen by spraying any of these coatings. Now, what you have to remember here is I'm taking a look at one very specific make and model of truck. So when you guys ask me about something like an 86 Toyota, yeah, the rubber compounds in that truck may be totally different than what I'm dealing with here. But by and large, your results are probably going to translate if you're using a lanolin-based product. This truck has only had fluid film, wool wax, or surface shield applied to it. Those are the only products that I have sprayed. So when you guys start talking about petroleum-based products, a petroleum-based product like, you know, used motor oil, transmission fluid, or like bar and chain oil, that's probably going to affect the rubber parts on your vehicle a lot differently than what a lanolin product will. I don't have any information to back that up, guys, but that's just me kind of shooting from the hip based on what I've seen with this truck and some of the other people that I've sprayed for. The lanolin products really don't seem to have any major detrimental effects to rubber parts over an extended length of time. With petroleum-based products, your results may vary. Now, as far as downsides to applying one of these coatings on your vehicle, there's a couple things in my experience that's going to be a downside. First of all, leaks. If you have any sort of small, like seeping type of leak, you're not going to be able to find it. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, you know, I've owned quite a few Ford products, and I can't say that I've ever owned a Ford product that has ever made it outside the 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty without some sort of seeping type of leak. Well, if I had sprayed a Ford with these products on the engine, you're never going to see a very small leak. Larger leaks, you will notice because these products don't drip. And if you have a leak large enough to drip, you know where it's coming from. It's not coming from the coating because the coatings don't drip. The second thing is the shocks. Every single time that I upload a video about these products, somebody makes a comment and looks at my shocks and goes, "Oh, both your shocks are blown." No. And the reason I bring this up as far as the detriment is because if you guys take your vehicle in for service, they're going to put it up on a lift like this. Well, when you put a vehicle up on a lift, the suspension sags out. So this part of the shock that looks wet and therefore most people think is blown, that is the undercoating that was behind the shock boot up here. So when the vehicle's on the ground, this is compressed. This section of the shock goes up behind the boot and it doesn't collect dirt and grime like the rest of this would. So naturally, yeah, the shock looks blown. So if you take your vehicle in for service and they tell you, "Oh, all 4 of your shocks are bad," and the vehicle has like, 40,000 miles on it, probably not. It's probably the fact that, when the vehicle's on the lift, the suspension sagged out, people see this and assume that, you know what, the shocks are blown. They're probably not. So guys, I have thrown about every automotive asset that I have at my disposal in the past 15 years at this video to try and just show you guys how well these products actually work at stopping rust on a vehicle. As I told you guys when I was doing the voiceover on my white truck, when my dad bought this truck in 2017, I had no idea if spraying fluid film on the bottom of it was actually going to stop the rust or not. But I knew for certain if I did nothing, the vehicle was going to rot out anyway. So in my eyes, I had nothing to lose by spraying the bottom of the vehicle because it's going to rust out regardless whether that coating's on there or not if the coating didn't work. It just so happened that, you know what, these coatings work extremely well, as you guys have seen. So it's been very, very interesting for me the past 7 years to be able to look at my comment section on those early videos when I first started spraying the product versus what the comment section is now. Because when I first started out, you know, everybody was very, very skeptical as far as, you know, what sort of damage is this going to do to the vehicle? Does it harm the paint? It's going to destroy the bushings, the brake hoses, blah, 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 blah. Well, now, you know, these past couple years, I've seen a drastic change in the comment section, and you guys are getting the exact same results from what I have seen as what I've gotten with this vehicle. So if you don't believe me, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people down in the comments telling me either A, this stuff has worked great, or B, this completely ruined my car. I highly doubt there's going to be anybody down in the comment section at all that's going to tell you that this stuff has ruined their vehicle. You've seen the results that I've gotten with the vehicles that I spray. So guys, that is about as much evidence as I can provide. So at this point, honestly, the only other content as far as undercoating updates on this truck that you're gonna see is probably gonna be when the vehicle is sold. At this point, I have definitively proven that, you know what, these coatings do in fact help, and they do a very good job of stopping the rust. So frankly, to me, shooting a yearly undercoating update on this truck going forward, it's just sort of irrelevant because you guys have seen the difference now. So what I'll probably do is whenever my dad decides to sell this vehicle, I'll probably shoot, you know, one final update video on it at that point, and that'll kind of be the end. The other thing is, you know, guys may be worried about rubber bushings and brake hoses and stuff like that, and just know that if I have any issues with rubber bushings, brake hoses, any rubber parts on this vehicle, I will shoot a video replacing those parts. So just assume that no news is good news when it comes to this truck and the condition of it overall. So just to reiterate, guys, the three main products that I have used on this vehicle is fluid film, wool wax, and surface shield. I do not recommend any coating that dries, only because you guys have seen the results that I have gotten with these wet coatings. The coatings that I specifically talk about here, these coatings do not really drip unless they're over applied. So they're really not all that messy, you know, a couple days after you spray it, whereas something like used motor oil is gonna turn your driveway into, you know, an oil slick. You know, these products don't do that. And that's why you're paying that premium price for some of these products versus something like used motor oil. So going forward, guys, the next video that I'm gonna shoot is going to be sort of all-inclusive, how to spray the bottom of a vehicle with these products. What sort of equipment do you need? Where do I spray it? How do I spray it? And then ultimately, like, how do I maintain this coating that is on the bottom of this vehicle? So I'm gonna get a not necessarily a brand new vehicle, but a vehicle in here that's never been coated before to walk you guys through beginning to end how I go about spraying one of these vehicles to get the results that you've seen in this video. So guys, I will have links down in the description to the fluid film, to the wool wax, to the surface shield, to the spray guns, and to the aerosol cans if you guys don't have access to compressed air. As always, guys, if you guys like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, go down and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.